Hey guys, welcome back to Vinceville Customs. So today we're going to do a work in progress video of making a display stand for this Hulk torso statue. Now, from what I understand, this is a fan art Hulk, and he has two torsos, but he holds Betty Ross in his left hand. So the client wants this to be able to display this item next to the Hulk statue because it's so big, elaborate, he likes it. Why put it in a box and have it collect dust? I guess if it was just a change ahead, you can make, the people who produced this item can make a little bust stand for the head, but I guess since they had such a big torso, they figured they didn't want to maybe waste the materials, or it wasn't requested. I don't know if it was like a fan group thing put together. I'm not sure, but he just wants me to come up with a display stand for it. So we'll kind of go over what's going on. He had a file for, I think from Wicked. I think it's Wicked 3D, and I think this was the file to Cloak and Dagger Bust. And I told him, I said, why don't we find a simple rocky base or a rock base, and I could put like green in it and make it look like gamma radiations cracking off the rocks and have a little fun with it, instead of like, trying to make like elaborate crazy base, because it does cost some money. We have to go through some steps to do this. So he just wants something simple, and I think I could come up with a good idea with this. So we had this printed out, and it looks pretty good. My friend Meta John in Canada printed this, and it worked out good. I gave him a size to make it, and it pretty much, pretty much should work good. I don't think he's going to be top heavy, because if he was higher, then it would topple over. But since he's going to be lower center of gravity, it should work out pretty well. So the idea is, this is hollow. I did order some 2-part resin from Smooth On. It just came in the mail today. So what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to go over to Home Depot. I'm going to grab one of those like square steel rods, like about that thick or so, or a big one, or however big they have it. I think they come in like 12 inches. I'll grab it, I'll drill a hole in here, and I'll kind of measure it, make sure it's kind of up there. I'll kind of make sure it kind of goes to about that part right in there in his piece there. And then after that, we'll kind of start creating a key, and we'll go over all that. And then what I'll do is I'm probably going to sculpt the rocks over here, and I'm going to kind of create like cracks in the rock, so if we do paint it like gamma radiations cracking out of the rocks, like green, it should work out pretty well. We'll kind of get to that later. So with something like this though, since it's hollow, which is perfect, what I'm going to do is I'll probably fill this part here with some extra A's over the next day or two that I have from sculpting. And then what I'll do is I'll cut a hole in here, and I'll throw a bunch of fishing lead weights in here. So this way, this will give it a nice like heavy weighting down. So this way, this won't topple over. Now at any point when I put this on here, if I think it's going to topple over, I'll go in the garage and I'll cast up like a larger bottom of a base, like over one of my pizza tins, and I don't have to go that big. And then I'll kind of attach it to the bottom in this, so this way it'll make it a little wider, so it won't go. So we'll see how things go. We'll kind of go over the video. And then one of the things he's like, well, I want him holding something, and he threw out a bunch of ideas. He threw out like a Magneto helmet, and he said a bunch of other things. And one thing he said was Juggernaut. So they also had this file here of Juggernaut. I think my friend had these files. And I said, yeah, I said, just print it out in this size, and then this is how it worked out. So basically what I'll do is I'll paint this up, and he can sort of like put these in Hulk's hand like he just fought Juggernaut. Or, he could put this one in his hand, If I have to tweak anything, I will, but I don't really think so. I think we could just kind of sort of play with it in a way. So I won't mess with it too much until later on. And that's kind of something simple. But the good thing is, like, if he doesn't like this and he's down the line, he finds something else to put on Hulk's hand, he can. So, next step is, I'm just going to go ahead and get these holes filled up. Either by whatever I got. Like I said, I got some basic extra A's I was just working on, so it's going to get tougher. So I'll fill this in, I'll fill this in. I'm going to go in the garage, drill out this hole, and then I'm going to go get the rod, and I'll kind of start planning it out. I'll let you guys know how that's going. And then for the key, though, into Hulk, what I'll probably end up doing is I'll probably put some saran wrap in here, and I'll probably put a bunch of A's. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of like get that metal rod, and I'll squeeze it onto A's, and I'll make sure he's kind of lined up. And then if everything's good, I'll kind of pop it off. I'll let the saran wrap come out, let it cure, and then from there kind of toy with it a bit. It's going to be a little tricky. I'm just hoping that when I do this on a perfectly level surface, that the Hulk is sort of in a way where he's not top heavy going left and right. I don't know. We're going to see how it goes, but one step at a time. So this is kind of where we're at. I'm just kind of thinking out, you know, out loud while I'm kind of looking at it now. So let me go ahead and get this prepped, have this drilled out, and then what I'll do is I'll try to bring my camera in the garage when we're ready to kind of get that rod in there once we get everything situated, and we'll just go step by step and get this set up for him. So I went to Home Depot, I went to a Tractor Supply, and I went to a Lowe's by me, and pretty much everything was the same. I was looking for hollow, you know, square pieces like this, and they did have them, but they were too small. That were probably like, you know, 12 inches or like 18 inches or maybe like 2 feet or something. But they did have bigger ones, but they were like 9 foot, 12 foot, like big, huge rods, and they were like anywhere from like $70 to $80, and it was just too much to spend. So I went ahead and got this one here, which was probably, I ripped off the thing, I think maybe 2 feet or 3 feet. So what I did is I just cut off 9-inch pieces on both ends, and I'm going to kind of create my own little square piece. So I have some zip ties here, and I got a bunch of Aves. I was working on something, and this Aves is kind of starting to harden because, long story short, I had to let this flatten to kind of create a skirt. So I got a bunch of Aves left. So I'm going to sort of kind of create my own little square piece first. I'm not really worried about if it's going to split down the line, because what's going to happen is I want to put the zip ties around. It's going to lock it into place. I'm going to throw some Aves around here. And then what'll happen is I'll be putting Aves around it as like a filler as I work on other projects this week. And I'll put freeform air, and I'm gonna like kind of, so at the end of the day, this is gonna be solid and everything, and this will help for with going. If it was just one piece like this, it would work. But what'll happen is I don't have this here like that. And the other thing too is when this is in that base, it's gonna go in about like this much. When I pour resin in there, the resin will kind of go around this piece and sort of lock it at the bottom too. So that's kind of why I wanted the holes here. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So all I really need to do is just to kind of show you is just kind of lock these together. Like I said, I'm not really worried about the zip ties because it's all going to get covered anyway for my plan. And you'll see how my plan comes together. But this is just going to kind of help lock it all together. It's just, of course, I would love to be able to, you know, weld these together. But sadly, I do not have any welding tools, and I don't want to go and pay somebody just to kind of give me like 4 or 5 taps on each side. So we're just doing this the poor man's way, I guess you can call it. But at the end of the day, it's going to work. As long as it all gets locked in with you know, Aves and Magic Sculpt and all this stuff, it'll be fine. The hardest part, I think, going forward is when I try to key it up top. I think that's going to be the hardest problem. Now this is like steel, zinc plated steel, so it's got a little bit of magnetized to it, so it should kind of work out with the magnet up top. So yeah, so I'm just gonna have to play with this a little bit, make sure that this is all kind of locked into place. So let me go ahead and get this locked into place sort of and cleaned up good, and then what's going to happen is I'm going to get this Aves that I got and sort of kind of lock this up and everything, kind of make sure this is kind of going pretty. I might have to put some tape around it in the middle too, but we'll see. So I'll come back once I start kind of putting some Aves on it. Here is the messy spine of what this base is going to be. So I had a bunch of Aves. Like I said, I was working on a skirt for an item, and it was getting hard, so I put it on here. So this is going to help lock this into place, plus this is probably be where I put a magnet in too. So that's kind of why I put the bunch of Aves there. And then I put the Aves around here to sort of kind of lock this in place. And then what I did is I have a bunch of freeform air, and this freeform air is probably going to last me maybe another couple months, and then it might start going bad. I'm not really sure how long freeform air lasts, but I got this last summer, and we're kind of coming into the next summer. but it still seems to be pretty good. So I just kind of like to want to use up the material. Even if this was all square rod and it wasn't two pieces connected, I probably would still fill it in with freeform air because I just like everything being solid. So that's going to help lock this all into place, so I won't have to worry about it shifting. And then what's going to happen is this bottom piece here with these holes, this is going to go into the hollow base, and then I'm going to pour in a 2-part resin, and that's going to fill into like right about there or so, and it's going to lock this into place. So this is going to get locked into place at the base, and then over here that's going to get locked into with Aves. That's going to go with the torso, and then all around this is going to be sculpted with more free-form air, and it's going to look like rocks, and I'm going to create cracks. I'm going to have like glowing gamma radiation in it, so it's going to look pretty cool. It's just that I need to create this spine, and this is kind of like the poor man's spine, I guess you can say, but I like doing this though because I'm not wasting materials. Like, I'm utilizing some old materials that I have. They're not going bad. Whereas I could have gone and spent the $80 and got myself the big rod and cut it and been done with it. But, you know, sometimes I'm trying to save money for the clients too without overspending. If I have a lot of material, or it's not going to last, or there's a way I could do it a little bit cheaper but it's still going to be functional, I'll do it. So this right now is going to become like a filler item over the next week. So when I work on some other items and I have a little extra A's, I'll probably could throw a little bit on these cracks, you know, where these two pieces are connected, and just throw A's around there, blah, blah, blah. And then once I get everything locked into place and we get the torso and everything's done, I could fill it in with the freeform air and start sculpting. So it's messy, but in the end, it's going to work and it's going to be durable. So that's all that really counts. So I'm going to go put this aside probably on the floor or something, let it kind of cure up for the night. And then once it's solid, we'll have to start getting it into the base and getting everything situated. Just one thing I had to be very careful of, I did get a little bit of a splinter from the metal that I cut with a metal saw. Not an electric saw, a hand saw that, you know, you go back and forth. So I just got to be careful I don't get any more splinters or slice my finger. But once this is in the bottom of the base, we should be pretty good. It's the next day, and this is all cured up pretty well. So you can see how we have this now basic system here. This is actually pretty damn heavy now because I put a whole bunch of fishing weight in here. Pretty much all the last of the fishing weights I had. I gotta go pick up more. So this is a good probably 1.5 inches of locked into this now. So this isn't going anywhere. This is nice and locked. So the next step is I want to put Hulk on here just to see where I'm at with the torso and how he stays. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to drill in here. I'm going to put in a magnet. And I'm going to get a magnet set up in here. I'm going to kind of flatten this out. And if it looks good and he balances okay, then I'm in a really good position. If not, then we'll go from there. But let's grab him and see. Hopefully everything is okay. So we have a good key system here, right? Okay. So I am sort of hitting this piece over here and a little bit there. So maybe what I might do is I might go into the garage and chip this out. Let's see how he fits on this side. Because we know what it is. It's not a perfect square in here. But all in all, we're getting there. But yeah, that's not. I gotta grind some of this out. That's the problem. But I mean, we're in a good position though. I'll have to say that much. Yeah, so I'm gonna go and grind some of that out. But we're looking pretty good. Now I was so concerned about going back and forth. I don't have to worry about that. So I just gotta go in the garage and grind some of this out. So I just gotta grind a lot of that metal, grab some tools, get this shaved out, and then like I said, what I'm going to do next is put a magnet in here, because I think there's a magnet in here. There should be. And as long as this goes well, what I'll do is I'll put, hopefully you guys can see in the camera, I'll put a bunch of saran wrap around here, and we'll grab some Aves and we'll put a chunk of Aves and we'll squeeze them on and let him cure overnight. And then after that's done, we should have a basic key. So I'm not worried about trying to make this all perfectly, you know, flush around here. I just want to get it in here and make it look good. And then once that's done, we can start using a freeform air and sculpt around it, and we'll go from there. A little tricky, but yeah, I just got to grind some of this out, flatten this down, and get a nice good system where it's not hitting anything, because I think some of this is hollow, and I got to be careful. So let me go in the garage, get all that done, and then once I get situated, I'll probably come back after this magnet is situated, because I want to put this magnet in now, because it's early in the morning, and then maybe by the end of the night, I can kind of get a bunch of Aves on here, let it cure overnight, and then start working with it tomorrow. Alright, so I was just in the garage, and I got it grinded up around here, and I grinded a hole for a magnet. This right here is going to be my front. I was just doing a little testing. I got to grind a lot more around here, because some of these edges are still kind of hitting, and I need this to be not, it's like, I think it's like mostly like this section here. So I'm just going to have to grind down a little bit more. But when I put him on, though, he lines up really good. I'm really happy with the way he lines up there. He's nice and straight, and it's balanced pretty well. It's not perfect, perfectly straight with the base, but the problem is I can't do that with the key. See, we have some turn there, but I think that's as good as I'm going to get it because of that key. But he's balanced though, so it's going to work. Yeah, it's going to work. Because if you look at him from this section, he's nice and fairly balanced on the base, but his torso isn't completely straight. But if you look on this section, sort of it is. Yeah, if you look from here, it's kind of hard from the camera, but the point is we can display him and not have to worry about... yeah, it's because of the key. That's the problem. It's because of the key. But you know what it is, though, is I can sort of... Let's see. Yeah, if I move him over a little, he's centered. Yeah. So, you know what it is? I just got to grind down the key a little bit more. Yeah. Alright. So, what I'll do is I'll come back later tonight when we're ready to put Aves on it. I'm going to go in the garage right now and kind of shave this down a little bit more. Just kind of give this a little bit more of a rounded area around here. But once we put Aves on there, we kind of lock this into place. There should be a magnet in there by the end of the night too. I'm going to have to kind of grind off this little piece I put here, but it's going to work. Yeah, so I could see a little bit of green here that it's hitting, so that's kind of giving me an idea where I need to shave. So, alright, I'm going to go to the garage, get that done, get a magnet in here, and then hopefully by tonight we can sort of mix up a bunch of Aves and kind of lock this into place. Well, ran into a little bit of an issue with the magnet, so I'm not going to do the magnet. As you can see in there, see how the magnet's all the way over there? That's where the magnet is. It's not centered. So I can't actually put a magnet centered into this piece, line it up here, and then it's going to push it all the way over here. Like, it's weird. This is not, I don't understand where this magnet is. It's not going into the center. It's like pulling to the, I can't get it in the center. It's weird, see? So I don't know what's in here. Maybe it might be one of those circular magnets in there where it's not in the center. So sadly, I'm not going to do a magnet with this. It's just not going to work, and I don't really think I need to, as long as I let the client know that you can't. It's heavy. It's not going to go anywhere on the base. It's just not going to be magnetized. And honestly, I have thicker and stronger magnets, a little bit bigger, but with this being hollow, I'm afraid that really that magnet in there, like say over time, because it's hollow, maybe that when you pull them off, it might snap. I'm always very concerned about hollow items, especially when there's a magnet involved here, because if you you see how you tap these areas over here, it's kind of hollow, but over here it's kind of solid. So, especially here, this feels like a weak point too. So, you know what, I'm not going to do it. Sometimes you just got to kind of, play with it and see what's going on. So, I went ahead and I grinded all this down, and you see I was going to put the magnet there, but that's okay. I'll put a chunk of Aves in here. Aves will kind of squeeze into this, and we won't have to worry too much. Now, I don't know if you guys have watched my live stream just talk up in the past. I have this Aves that I ordered from Aves Epoxy Sculpt, and what happened is this red in here has sort of chunks in there. it's not bad, but it's kind of not good. It's not good for doing smooth stuff, but it's still good for doing stuff like this. You just got to mix it up a little bit better. So I'm going to mix up about like a big chunk of it, just enough to kind of get into this area here. I'm not going to get this whole entire thing, just enough for this key in here. And then what I'll do is I'll put some saran wrap on there, and I'll put him on. I'm going to find a spot somewhere to put him. I'll take a picture of it because I can't pull the camera over there. I want to put him on a nice thing, which is probably next to my airbrush booth. And I'm just going to let it sit for the day. And hopefully by the end of the day, you know, I can, because just before lunchtime, I could kind of get this set up, let it kind of cure up, and then tomorrow I can start doing the rod part and sculpting it and get this done. Yeah. Damn, I wish I could have got the magnet in there, but I don't like doing it. Because you know what it is in the past? I've done this in the past where a magnet wasn't lined up straight and I put the item in there, and then if I wasn't paying attention, or the thing kind of wanted to move and shift, and then when you put it in there, if their magnets are... Like, you could have a magnet sort of a little bit off-center, you know, it'll be fine. But when you have something like this far, it causes issues. But if you have it straight on, it's perfect. So, well, it is what it is. Alright, so let me go and get this A's mixed up. I'll take a picture of what it looks like sitting on the shelf for today. And then hopefully tomorrow we can start sculpting up the rest of it. So it's the next day, and I got this all prepped up. Hopefully this stuff stays down long enough. Probably throw a little more tape. So I'm all prepped up to do the smooth freeform air. I'm sorry, smooth on freeform air, because that stuff with sand, because I got some sand I'm going to use and kind of create a texture and a thing, it gets very messy. So I got to just make sure, you know, I kind of keep everything kind of clean. So what I did here, though, hopefully we're in camera, this piece right here, the next day, I sanded all this down, I smoothed it out, because this little piece here and this little piece here was sticking out for some reason. I'm not sure if that's part of the casting. So when you put him on there, it wasn't like, it was kind of like clicking, and I was worried about it. So I just sanded all this down, I smoothed it up, and now he goes on perfectly good. Now, one thing I did realize I forgot is this metal is sort of, you know, it's got that steel in it, so this sort of hits that magnet in there, and it's sort of magnetized. Not perfectly, but enough that there's some kind of a pull there. So that's good bonus. I didn't really even think of that. So we're worked out with that. But yeah, I'm going to just pretty much put on some music, just kind of get relaxing, and get my gloves, mix up the freeform air, and just start sculpting. So I'll film it while I'm going. It'll be fast. You know, for you guys, it'll probably take me like, I don't know, maybe like an hour or two, depending on how much it cures and how much I can get it sculpted. What I'm going to do, though, is the Hulk bust I'm going to wrap up in saran wrap. And the reason why I'm going to wrap it up in saran wrap is, at one point, I'm going to try to put him on top of this, too, and make sure that if there's any freeform air that's kind of sticking out, like around here, it kind of pushes that key down. And plus, having that freeform air with either the gloves or my hands, it gets very, very tacky. And I don't want any residue getting onto this Hulk sculpt. So I want to make sure that I don't mess anything up. But other than that, there's really not much more to say other than just kind of get into the zone, sculpt up, kind of got that whole idea in my head, and just make sure that the key and everything is working pretty good. So, with that being said, let me get prepped up and we'll start sculpting. chance to get into the garage after this was cured up, and I have one of these brush tools. You can get these like at Harbor Freight Tools or something. You get like a pack of different kinds. So this one isn't the super hard steel one, but it's also not the soft like plastic one. It's kind of the mid-range one. And what I do is I just kind of brush it down. I still got to go in here and kind of hit a couple other areas and like take it down. There's like a couple things that are sticking out that'll probably break, like this little piece here. But what happens is when you use that sand on there, it doesn't always stick into the, you know, into the free-form air. And then, like, if you go to try to paint it and stuff, it's just going to fall all over the place. So what I usually do is I turned it around, you know, like this over the garbage can. And I kind of brushed it, and I kept turning it and brushing it. And then after that, I went ahead and primed it. Now, usually I use my Duplicolor filler primer. But since this is a base, and what I like to try to do is I try to use primer that's going to help, like, keep a lot of that sand sort of bonded to the, you know, it doesn't get, like, loose and stuff. There, like I said, there's still some areas I got to do. I'm still letting this primer dry, but I use this Rust-Oleum 2x primer. I really don't like using Rust-Oleum primer. I know a lot of people seem to like it in the hobby, but I personally don't. But when I do bases and I do stuff like this, I like to use it because it goes on really thick. Takes a couple days to really dry, though. But it really helps this sand and this extra stuff kind of like stick and stay to the piece. Because the other filler primer from Duplicolor sort of does it, but you'd have to do a couple coats and then you burn a whole can of like primer. Where this goes on really nice and it works out pretty well. Now I left this part semi-primed, but not a lot. I figured there's no reason to sit there and put a lot of primer on there because it's probably going to get scraped. This is going to be in the key anyway, so just kind of leave it. It's not the end of the world. I know a lot of people in the hobby, they like the keys, and they like the keys that go into the items perfect and never scrape, but sadly, it happens when you do like custom paint-ups and stuff like this, and I personally say you don't see it, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's no big deal that this isn't primed. It's actually kind of better that way, so it won't get all caked up and stuff. So that's kind of why I left that like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry for another day or so. Just kind of really kind of cure up, because what it is past 3 days it's been raining and there's a lot of moisture in the garage and in the house, and it's just we're not getting those dry days, and I don't want to put this in front of a heater for like, you know, hours during the day. So I'm just like to let things dry naturally. Plus it's kind of the weekend now anyway, I got other stuff going on, but I just kind of wanted to do a touch up and see where we're going. So the next step is once this is done and ready to go, I'm going to do like a base coat of like black paint or something. I got those mixed bottles of like extra paint that I always kind of fill in extra paint when I never use it, and it kind of turns like a darkish gray. I got one that's kind of like a red color, another one that's kind of green. So I'll probably use one of those, give this a base coat, and I'll start doing dry brushing, and then we'll kind of go through it all. But we're pretty much almost there, and I'm pretty happy with it, and the client likes it too. So this is going to be a nice little setup for this Hulk bust. So yeah, let me let this cure up for a day or two, and we'll get back on it. And we are all finished up. It worked out pretty well. So we got 2 Juggernaut helmets that you could pop in his hand. Not really fine-tuned. They're just basically files from another Juggernaut file or something that they had. So we just printed out and you could throw it on his hand, simple. And it's just something a little extra. But the biggest concern was, will he topple over? That's kind of what I was worried about, because if we made him up too high, you know, if he was higher, then this base probably would not have been able to hold that top heaviness. But the idea I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure his hand wasn't touching the ground, but also not super high. So I kind of did it where it's just probably right there at the base, as you can see. You know, like kind of lined it up with this line here. And by throwing all the lead weights at the bottom here in that metal rod, we got a nice good center of gravity. And it worked out pretty well. And it's a simple base, nothing too extravagant. It's not super bright. It's not taking away from the bust. You know, it just kind of works. Now, yes, we could have taken it to a whole new level. We could have put like broken canister of gamma radiations. We could have put wires. We could have done all this crazy stuff, but therefore that raises the cost. It raises time, labor, and idea. And this isn't like, you know, something where he wanted it to be like a super holy grail and it's like one of his centerpieces. It's just something he wanted to display extra instead of sitting in the box, which is kind of simple. So that's what we did. And you can see that with the STL files out there now and all these 3D files you can get, just because this item goes to a bust of a completely different character doesn't mean in the file you can cut this base off and use it for another character. So that's the cool thing with 3D files now. When I saw this base, what was it on I think it was the Cloak and Dagger bust that I saw from, like, what was it, Wicked or something? That like screamed to me like that would be a cool base for him and it would be a good starting point. And that's what we did. Now, like I said, at certain angles it looks like the base is off center, but at other angles it's fine. And I think that's just because I had to center gravity him with the arms and stuff, because if I was to put it too far over this way, I think he would actually topple that way. And if I put him too much this way or backwards, it's kind of weird. I had to center him. It's a very weird bust, you know. But by putting the I put a lot of lead weights though at the bottom of it. So there's a lot of fishing lead weights on the bottom in here mixed in with resin, you know, 2-part resin. So that gives a nice good layer of like heaviness down here to offset this up here. Because if this was just like free-form air and like hollow, not only would the base probably crush, but you probably would definitely get like a topple, you know, like top-heavy item falling over. So, but I think in the end it worked out pretty well. It's very simple. Now, you know, he gets to display him. If he really wants to have the Juggernaut in hand, he can. If there's other items down the line he wants to put in the, you know, Hulk's hand, he can. Like I said, these are not like specifically made. It's just something that you could just kind of put in the hand like that and just kind of have fun with it. So, you know, it's just, this is as far as we wanted to go with it. I don't think it's a super centerpiece holy grail for his collection, or like a super like Hulk fan. It's just something he liked. But down the line, if this was to ever go to somebody else's hands, they have options where they can kind of customize something for his hand or whatever. Because like I said, I think the original sculpt comes with 2 torsos, but he's supposed to hold Betty Ross in his left hand. But since you only have one Betty Ross item, what do you do with the other one? But there you go. That's pretty much it. Pretty simple. It required a little work. Like I said, I think the hardest part is just making sure he wasn't top heavy. But it's a very simple base. It kind of doesn't take away from the item now. It's dark. It's got a little bit of the green glow with the rocks, but it's not super, you know, it's simple. It's just something simple we wanted to do. We didn't want to go above and beyond with the, you know, how much it would cost. Just kind of kept it more within reasonable range just so he could display it. That's kind of the goal of this whole project. So let me know what you guys think. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is this something that, you know, maybe you might want to do down the line if you have this type of statue? But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm glad it's just bound. So he can display it. It's going to work out. And he's got more options, too, if he wants to put stuff in his left hand down the line, if he wants to spread other stuff out. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.